Hi, you're watching what we've learned in 50 years. And 50 years of sharing the gospel in France, Dad, you would think people would get excited because it's good news. But sometimes, well, many times over the years, people said we don't want anything to do with the gospel. And sometimes they were quite violent. Let's go back 10 years ago in the town of Dunkerque in northern France, just by the sea. It's kind of a funny story now, but back then was not fun in a cemetery.
Well, I've explained to you what happened in this cemetery. The people were gathered round, and it was the grandmother of one of the folks there. And so I was preaching and I was explaining how she'd come to the Lord, and she hadn't lived long afterwards, so this was the opportunity to share with the rest of the family the experience that she'd had in her home. Her husband wasn't against, he was there when she gave her heart to the Lord, and so we didn't know she was going to go quickly.
So the family asked you to be the pastor to lead the service in the cemetery.
That's it. And so I was there and the folks were there, so I began to explain the conversion experience, how she'd come to the Lord, and more or less finished. And then the next thing I knew, someone was holding me from the back because I'd been pushed. And if that person at the back hadn't got a hold of me, I was on a slab on the cemetery on my back. But what happened was it was the grandson of this woman who was furious because I'd talked about his grandma coming to the Lord. And he said, if you don't get out of the cemetery, I'll put you out.
So thank God the service was over and people heard the gospel. That's the main thing. But you almost landed on the gravestone. Now we're going back in the late 70s in the town of Le Puy, which is in central France. We were little boys, so we can't remember too well, but it was quite a funny story. Not in a cemetery, but in a mental hospital. What in the world were you doing there?
I was visiting a friend who was there because he had some problems himself. The family were happy for me to go and see him. So I got to the reception desk and I said, I'd like to speak to Mr. So-and-so. And so I found out where he was. I went up to his room. I prayed with him, read the word with him.
Was he a Christian then?
Yes, he had come to the Lord and his family as well, and his brother. And so I spent some time with him. And then I made my way down the corridors to get out. And on the way I spoke to other people who were there.
Why not?
Well, why not? I had the opportunity to talk about the Lord and God bless you and pray with somebody if I could. And so I did that to one or two people and then made my way out again. But before I got out, I was stopped.
Stopped? You mean what? The police stopped you?
No, it was the nurses. They stopped me.
And they said what?
They said, get out of here and don't come back again.
Don't ever come back.
Ever.
So you ended up on the blacklist of that mental hospital.
Exactly.
And I think you've got the last story. That's almost 30 years ago in Le Mont d'Or in central France. And you were having an open air meeting?
An open air meeting with a group of young people who had come over especially for that.
Right.
Doing sketches, mimes, singing. So we had the microphones and setting them up because other people were doing other things. So they were giving us a spot. But when they realised what we were going to do, what we were singing, the sound was stopped.
They turned all the sound off.
Turned all the sound off. That's where we were. And so what would we do now? Well, the priest came to our rescue, said, look, come over to my corner and you can do it there.
What, you had a kind of a compound?
A compound, and we got set up just in the front where people could still see us and hear us.
And it was safe being there?
Well, it was safe being there, yeah.
So thanks to the priest, the Catholic priest, you had a place where you could keep on singing and getting the gospel known. What's interesting in that cemetery, in that mental hospital, in that open air meeting, the main thing, the gospel was preached and you got in trouble when it was all over. So that's a good thing. But we want to pick up a key or principle, as we do every time we meet, so that our friends can take it home and be encouraged in their place of service.
Well, the thing is to press on. You've given the word and let God do the rest.
That is a good key. Press on and trust God.